I'm Jay Stone. You're listening to my show exclusively at rockmetaltalk.com. That was Rock and Roll Man by Mr. Nasty off the CD Ain't Dead Yet. I want to try not to get emotional and shit about this, but it's a sad day in my world of rock and roll. I was going to do this show tonight either way, but I found out that D.D. Sweet from Mr. Nasty has passed away last night, and I know this guy since I'm 15 years old. He's a little older than me. I met him through a mutual friend, basically a tattoo artist. I might have been about 16, but I got my tattoo and I started hanging out, and Mike Krangle started working for Dave Mexicali across from Sundance and Bayshore. And I was in there, and I met D, and ever since then, we hung out. I always went up to Sundance. I kind of, followed him around and shit. He was just a trip to hang out with. We went to a deli, and he was getting some beer and shit. And, I really didn't like beer back then, so I was more focused. I always wanted to be a rock star, and D is one of those people that, I looked at and I said, this guy's cool as shit. I said, that's definitely what I want to do, is I want to be in a band. I definitely want to do this after seeing him on stage and the band on stage and getting to see the stuff behind the scenes and what goes on in the clubs at a really early age, and it was just cool as fuck. But anyway, when we went to that deli, he was getting beers out of the refrigerator, and whole shelves just toppled on top of him, and the guy in the deli just gave him whatever he wanted just so he wouldn't sue him, and, didn't call an ambulance and all this shit. So D had all these beers out in the bushes. But I was a young kid, so I didn't get to see a lot of it because I guess they didn't want to expose me to it. But I got a chance to see him at Gasoline Alley. I happened to move to Tarpon Springs area, Florida, and Raven, the bass player, lives in Clearwater. So, of course, the band came down here when they put out Ain't Dead Yet, and or right before it, right around there. And I went to see him play at Gasoline Alley, and it was one of the greatest things. I videotaped it. I have it somewhere in my room. I have the CDs. I used to have the official, unofficial fan site. So I've been meaning to put that back up, but that's on another computer, and I've been working on it, but I have access to other files and other ways to put it back up there, so I can always do that. It's just, you never know the shit's going to happen, man. I've been going nuts. It's been an emotional day over it. His brother did a tattoo on me years later. I didn't even know it was him, and he's like, oh yeah, my brother's in a band too, and blah, blah, blah. And he told me who he was, and I was like, holy fuck. So I got to see Johnny when he came to the show in Clearwater. But I don't know. It's just, a lot of people might not know who these guys are, but I grew up on Long Island. That's where they're from. And to me, that band always meant a lot to me growing up, only because, I knew them. I seen them play a lot. I loved the CDs. They wrote great songs. They should have made it a lot further back then than they did, but I mean, you got to roll the dice. Scott was in a band with him, and they did a whole bunch of shit together. It's just it's one of those days where it's like, holy fuck. Kurt Cobain kills himself. Yeah, it's a sad day. This guy dies, that guy, yeah, but, this one's close to home, so I've been involved in a lot of stuff they've done. I followed basically everything. I've promoted the hell out of them. I played them a ton of times on the show. It's just, I don't know, it's a really sad day. I was going nuts before the show because actually D gave me some stuff at the Gasoline Alley show. So if some of you don't know who I am, you might remember me because I was the one giving out the Mr. Nasty die cut stickers. He gave me a chain and some other stuff after the show, and I don't even remember what I did with it, but at the very end of that show, I did some of the vocals on Pretty Vacant, which is a song I'm going to play that they covered. But their shirt got me into so much trouble here and there. It's incredible, because it said Mr. Nasty on the front and something Chico's bail bonds on the back and shit. And one night I was in Bourbon Street down the block from my house, and some guy's fucking saying shit about my shirt and this and that. So I made my wife walk outside. I'm like, just go outside for a minute. This fucking asshole's just got, thinking I'm a tough guy because I'm wearing the shirt. It's a band shirt, dude. It's a fucking joke. Get over it. So we showed him what Chico's bail bond could do. Not Mr. Nasty, actually myself. I played dominoes with him and his 3 friends sitting on bar stools, so it was a pretty eventful night. But I can't, the goddamn chain's got to be in my garage somewhere. It's just really got to be in there somewhere. I was going to do something with it or do a painting or something with it, and I can't remember exactly where I put it. But I'm on a mission to find that fucking thing now. You can Skype me if you want to talk. The username is Rock Metal Talk, so you could just Skype. Just do an audio Skype. Don't try to video me, because it's going to take too much bandwidth to do that. I am running the radio thing on there, so if you want to bullshit, there's shows coming up at Bourbon Street. I'm trying not to talk about too much other stuff than Mr. Nasty, because the show is in honor of D, so. But, there will be some shows coming up to Bourbon Street that are pretty cool. I'm going to be airing some commercials on the show and promoting that pretty much to help a friend of mine out who, I always bullshit with on Facebook and whatnot. So he's a good kid, and I'm more than happy to do it. But as you can tell, I'm not real excited to be doing the show, other than the fact that I get to honor a great guy. Who battled a lot of things for a lot of years. I don't know. It's just, it's hard to think about everything that I've experienced with those guys. And just D personally, because that's really how I got to know Mr. Nasty, was D. And then later on, I got to know Scott, and kind of got to know Raven just from being on the music scene here, seeing some of his bands. He probably don't know I follow him and know about all the bands he's been in, but I pretty much been following him. It'd always be cool to do something with those guys after all these years. Maybe I'll do a cover song or something. I don't know. It's just hard to picture, never now always knowing that ain't ever going to happen again. And if it does, it's not going to be with D. It's not saying, musicians are difficult. They're a difficult group. They're a special breed of people. I am one. I know what it's like to be there. I can be very difficult at times, so it's just hard. It was one of those bands that were, just there was always something going on that caused something else to happen, but it was just a great band. And to see them put that album out, Ain't Dead Yet, years and years and years and years after, and have that thing so widely acceptable was amazing. And just the songs, hearing some of those songs from, a couple of the songs were redone. So just hearing those years later and the production value, it was so cool. But what are you going to do? You could probably find it on eBay. I have some of the original Mr. Nasty 38 caliber Kisses CDs laying around somewhere, but right now I probably wouldn't part with anything Mr. Nasty wise, just for the simple fact of today. And this is 2 years this week that my mother passed away, so it really makes it that much harder. But I haven't seen D in years since they were here. But I remember that shit like it was yesterday. And I don't know. It's just weird. I'll never forget it. But I have talked with him on Facebook and other social media sites, so it was good to stay in touch with him. You know, it was very random, but I still, you know, will never forget the guy as long as I live, because as much as, you know, like Axl Rose and Guns N' Roses and Alice in Chains and Stone Temple Pilots and Skid Row and Marilyn Manson influenced my life, when some of those people go, it will probably, it may not even be as depressing as it is today. The guy we met through, Mike Crango, the tattoo artist, he passed away a few years after I really got to know those guys. I might have been in my early 20s, but he was a dude. He was a crazy dude too. So, you know, I just Skype me or something, man. Call in if you have something to say about Mr. Nasty. But I played Rock and Roll Man, so I'm gonna play another song off of that CD, and I'm gonna play 2 songs off 38 Caliber Kisses. One I told you is gonna be Pretty Vacant, the cover of the Sex Pistols song, which I played on last week's show. I'm gonna end the show with that because that's what they ended the last show I ever seen with those guys. They toured around with Faster Pussycat. They had all sorts of bands and did all sorts of shows. They should have made it a lot bigger than they did, but to me, they're one of the biggest bands out there, and they always will be, and they'll always hold a special place in my heart. This song is called Dye My Hair off 38 Caliber Kisses. I'm Jay Stone, and you're listening to my show exclusively at rockmetaltalk.com.
Well, I got a call from Miss, she was going from a G1.
I'm Jay Stone. You're listening to my show exclusively at rockmetaltalk.com. Honoring D.D. Sweet, who passed away yesterday from the band Mr. Nasty. I'm at a loss for words, and hopefully if you never heard of these guys or heard of him, that listening to these songs, you'll appreciate them. Tell me those weren't some catchy-ass fucking tunes. Those should be played on the radio everywhere, plain and simple. It's just, I guess it's got to do with the Illuminati. If you ain't in the group, you ain't going to rise to the top like Beyonce. But look at me. I'm still a bottom feeder. I went from a 5,000 person show a week to 4 people of you tuning in now. But I think this show is going to go down as a classic. I'll always miss this guy. I love you, bro. There is something else out there. I'm not so sure there is, but if there is, I hope you're in a good place, because I'll miss you, bro. Songs off Ain't Dead Yet, and one off 38 Caliber Kisses, which was Dye My Hair. I am not a man of many words today. It's one of those things. It's taken a lot to do the show. I'll forever play these guys on the show, the Heartless Devils, anything any of these guys are ever involved with. Just a great bunch of guys, plain and simple, hands down. Always thought of me first when they were doing new material and sending out shirts and doing shows, putting me on guest list or whatever, even if I wasn't in the area. I don't even know all the stuff but it was just great to know the band and all of that shit. So enough of that crap. The show's going to end a little early because, like I said, I'm not really in a good mood right now. I don't have that many words to speak. I'm having a shitty time at work. I don't know if I'm just not giving it a chance or what. It's not the job itself. I just think it's poorly driven. And that's my personal opinion. It's hard for me to sit back and watch other people run the show when I have good ideas, but that's not what I get paid for. So I just have to sit there and suck it up and be talked to like a 12-year-old. Who people think they can be condescending and douchebags, but you know what? I know what I've done with my life. I know where I've been, the accolades I've received. So, the people I know, such as the great guy I'm honoring tonight. But that's from my perspective is everything. Everything I say on the show is from my perspective and merely my opinion. And that's the stupid little light I have hanging here because I sit in the dark. And when I have to read something like the news to you motherfuckers, I got to turn this little switch. And that's what you hear rolling on the fucking mic. So, all right, I got enough time to play the last song. I'm Jay Stone. I thank you guys for tuning in. Please share the word. Please buy Mr. Nasty CDs. Not because of the situation today, but just because they're a great band. Here's Pretty Vacant. Their cover. I'm the deck. Jay Stone.